So not only did we have our pledge tonight from students at Marshal STEM Academy, but we also have some very special guests, some first graders from Mrs. Ely's class. They've been very busy since the school year began. They are raising, tagging, and releasing monarch butterflies that they will then track on their migration to Mexico. Here to tell us more about this project is Mrs. Ely and several of her students, Zion Kelly, Zoe Juarez, Elijah Overton, Rosalind Batista, and was that it? That's it? Okay, come on forward, guys.
Hi. I don't know who's more nervous, the children or me. So I made myself some notes because when we are presenting, we always make notes, right? Okay. So my name is Mrs. Ely. I am a first grade teacher at Marshal STEM Academy, and I am fortunate enough to work with some of the most amazing first graders in Toledo. As you may know, Marshal STEM focuses on PBL, or project-based learning, or problem-based learning. And one of the problems that we've been working on is how can we help raise monarchs and help them thrive in our community, and also how can we teach others about monarch butterflies. So one of the things we do is we partner with monarchwatch.org, which is an organization that focuses on tagging monarch butterflies and then tracking their migration to Mexico. So Monarch Watch has been really great about getting back to us when a monarch does reach Mexico. And last year we were fortunate enough to have one butterfly that was found all the way in Mexico. We were pretty excited about it. In addition to tagging and raising the monarchs, we have focused on educating others. So this year, students made care sheets, little pamphlets that we distributed out to our building, and we also gave classrooms caterpillars that they could raise on their own. So we have been spreading the joy of raising monarchs in our building. Students have also learned about the monarch life cycle, and that's what they're here to share with you today. Okay, you ready? All right, so Elijah, sorry. So how do they start?
First, they start as an egg. They only lay eggs on milkweed. And the eggs are really tiny.
Can you point to one in the picture so they can see how small it is? Yeah. Good job. All right. Now Zion's turn.
Second, they start out really tiny. They grow to be really fat. They shed their skin 5 times before they are fully grown, and they only eat milkweed.
Good job. And what part is that?
Caterpillar.
Good job. Show me caterpillar.
Then they go in a lid. They turn into a J. When they're fully into a J, they turn into a chrysalis. The chrysalis has gold spots on
Check your notes. Always check your notes.
on the
Good job. And your chrysalis, right?
on the chrysalis.
How long do they stay?
They stay for 10 to 14 days. Fourth, they're a butterfly, and we tag them. You can tell if they're a boy because they'll have black dots. If they're not a boy, then they don't have black dots.
And And these guys have been waiting really patiently for their butterflies to hatch. And they actually, 2 of them hatched today and 1 of them hatched yesterday. So we brought 4 to release today, and we're going to go outside right now and release them. So if anybody wants to join us, we are going to walk outside. Yeah? This way or this way? This way? Okay. Follow Dr. Grant, Elijah. He'll take you where you need to be.
Oh, they are so old. Yes, it is. I can't wait.
Right?
Watch your step.
Of course you
Come on, Miss Natashak, you too. Come on, Mrs. Scratchins, you too.
Go ahead. I'm gonna sneak down this way.
What happened? I mean, the one that I raised. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, for us, I don't know about those 4 first grade.
They're going to release them.
Oh, are they?
I'll talk to you. Anyway.
Morning announcements every day. That means I must be like the big one.
I think I'll just use my inside voice. It's enough to be an outside voice and say I think that was one of the best presentations we've ever had. So thank you to Mrs. Ely and her students from Marshal STEM Academy. My only other presentation is we have one retiree, and that is Patricia Burgess. She is Executive Administrative Assistant. She has most recently served in the Human Resources Department, and she is retiring with 29 years.
They did. Well, we put them in the tree.
No, she wanted to read that. What do we tell them for having us? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, that was just so much fun that we have to like figure out where we left off and what we're doing here at our meeting. Mrs. Mazer, you did mention our retirees, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. We are to section 3, community comments. Mr. Treasurer, will you review our requirements for community comments, and then the board will recognize Mr. Joseph Wood to address the board.
The board values the input of citizens and community members regarding all aspects of the district. The board understands that education is the center of all community issues and activities, and that input is important because it allows the board to hear all views on all matters. In order to ensure a quality public comment portion during the board meetings, all citizens and community members who are scheduled to speak before the board shall abide by these general rules. 1, each speaker has 3 minutes unless modified by the board president. 2, the time will be displayed for the speaker and the public to see. The treasurer will announce when time has expired. 3, any questions that speakers would like responses to should be submitted in writing, and the board president will secure answers within a reasonable time frame, normally 7 to 10 days, depending on the amount of research required to provide a comprehensive response and the time-sensitive nature of the question. 4, board members will not engage in policy dialogue with speakers, but will use their established committee format to have substantive dialogue. The public comment section is the opportunity for the board to listen to all citizens and community members and make contact with the speakers following the meeting for individual feedback and questions. The general guidelines are established as a way to provide the maximum opportunity for board members to listen to citizens and community members and provide an organized and structured procedure for feedback that will help our students and families.
Thank you. And Mr. Wood.
Thank you. My name is Joseph Wood. My pronouns are he, him pronouns, and I am Secretary of Board of Equality Toledo. May I hand this to you now or later?
Please.
And I'll speak to what I just handed out. So last Monday, State Board Member Brandon Shea introduced a resolution regarding Title IX. And Title IX protects against discrimination for the basis of sex, among many things. And last year, the Supreme Court ruled that that includes in the workplace protections against gender identity and sexual orientation. That is being applied by the State Department or the National Department of Education in June to apply to our schools. And this resolution introduced by Shea is very, from Equality Toledo's standpoint, hateful and discriminatory, and it provides an opportunity to allow state-based discrimination. It doesn't recognize the scientific realities, the differences between sex at birth and gender identity, and it doesn't allow for students to be themselves in the classroom. The resolution introduced by Mr. Shea, it completely disregards the needs of the LGBTQ+ youth at a pivotal time in their lives, and it was also likely drafted without any input from our vulnerable community. While it claims to protect the safeguard the well-being of children, this resolution put forth by Shea fails to recognize more than half of transgender youth seriously consider suicide. They are 2 times as likely as other LGBT cisgender community members to experience depressive symptoms, seriously consider suicide, and even attempt it. Okay, as a public school district, it is your responsibility to provide educational learning environments that are open, supportive, culturally responsive, and psychologically safe for all students to learn. On behalf of the LGBT families and students, we hope that you would consider putting forth a resolution or a statement similar to other public school districts in Ohio, such as Columbus's last week, condemning this resolution in support of our students. And I would invite you to please read his resolution. It doesn't allow trans athletes to participate in the sports that they identify with, even though OSHA already has a policy in place dating probably about 10 years ago that allows a case-by-case determination of that. It doesn't allow for bathroom policies to be inclusive. And among a few other things, it would restrict funding if you chose to be inclusive, even though other districts might not be supportive of those students. So I thank you for your time and consideration in protecting our queer youth.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments tonight. Thank you. I think we are to section 4, organizational input, which brings us to a remarks by our student representative, which is Mr. Jesse Rodriguez from the Toledo Technology Academy of Engineering. Mr. Rodriguez.
Well, yes, I am Jesse Rodriguez. I am a member of the Toledo Public Schools SMART. SMART is actually an acronym for Students Making Achievements Right this Second. So what we are doing over at Toledo Technology Academy of Engineering is we had a few projects going on. One of our projects was a signage project. As you may or may not know, Toledo Technology Academy of Engineering had a multi-million-dollar makeover, and we had new wings put into our school and new hallways, new designs for the roofs, floors, lockers, pretty much everywhere around it. And that was one of our things we had. We also are trying to get repainted lines in our parking lot to help guide the ways for traffic. Our current lines are starting to fade away and traffic's getting a little bit messy, especially with the add-on of medical school, which was added there, and then McKinley, which sits behind the Technology Academy of Engineering. So traffic gets a little bit messy sometimes during the day, especially in the mornings around 7:45, I'd say, is when it really starts hitting. So we want to try and get that under control, along with signage. We want to get like a big sign in front of the school, and along with little signs that like can guide the way of where you want to go. So pretty much what we had in mind was almost like college campus signs in a way, where you have arrows pointing with the name of where something is located at, so it can easily guide parents, teachers, faculty through the school system. We started brainstorming traffic solutions to try and fix it, because if you ever try to exit the campus, you would know that it's almost impossible to make a left turn during the busy times of the day. So it's almost like you can only turn right. So what we had in mind was either like moving the traffic light over, and which would actually be something that we have to email the city about. And we are working on still coming up with the proper email for that. And then also another thing we had in mind was a right turn only, just to make sure that people aren't sitting and backing up that left lane and get traffic going a lot quicker. So that could also be another thing that we want to do. We released student surveys to try and help gather information about the students and take in their data. So this would basically go about their concerns, any questions they had, if they had any problems with teachers, or we wanted to figure out what the main focus was for the students and figure out how we can help them best. We noticed that a lot of students are struggling in their math subjects in the lower grades, So we are currently working on a way to promote our tutoring after school. That way they can go there and get some extra assistance as needed. Smart students would like, or I feel on behalf of the smart students that we would like more engagement with the board members. We would like to meet and discuss our ideas and stuff that has come to mind. We want to be more engageful with them. And then we also want to discuss changes from our student perspective, which would actually be something that not only the students really can provide because they're living what's going on inside of TPS. So we could actually give our input and how we see certain things that you guys may see differently. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We really appreciate you coming and joining us today for our board meeting. We have had a late cancellation for our parent representatives, so we don't have speakers for that. And I see that Mr. Ramirez is here from TAAP.
Thank you. I have to follow that well thought out presentation by this young man, and wow, very impressed. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I also wanted to recognize the McKinley kids and students, and I know the principal was here and teacher was here, that those are, what I realize is anytime you bring kindergartners, first graders, it makes the day. So put that in a notepad. If we bring presentations to younger kids, that's what it is. I did want to, at the beginning of this, we did a moment of silence for the people that lost their lives to gun violence, and I did want to point out and recognize we lost two union brothers, literally brothers, on the job. So that does hit home for us as union members, but I do want to recognize that Morrison, Ben and Max that had passed recently in the last 5 days. The other thing you're talking about the union brothers and sisters, GM Powertrain, I don't know if you heard that announcement, but it's pretty big for Toledo, $760 million investment to EV production at the GM Powertrain. Now it's going to be called GM Propulsion. And I know that he hit on that, mentioning about where we're transitioning. I know Dr. Grant was at that presentation. It was very well done, I can say. But the intent is make Northwest Ohio, that's the first EV in the United States. So we want to make sure that we continue to get those productions, and we can keep a middle class going and keep Toledo Public Schools here for a long time to go. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. That brings us to section 5. We have a couple of resolutions in our discussion section, and we're going to start with item 5.01, a resolution recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month, and I believe Mr. Vasquez is going to read that resolution for us.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. It's a long resolution, a lot of whereases, so please have patience with me. This is a resolution recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month, which began as National Hispanic Heritage Week in 1968, and which was later expanded to National Hispanic Heritage Month in 1988, began on September 15th, the day which represents the anniversary of independence for 5 Latin American countries. And whereas Hispanic Americans represent an array of distinct and vibrant cultures, each of which enriches our community and contributes to our spirit of success in many valuable ways. And whereas Hispanic Americans have made important contributions to the cultural fabric of this country while achieving significant recognition in American literature, science, music, and political leadership. And whereas Hispanic Americans have helped to shape our community and have had profound influences through a strong commitment to family, faith, and community, and enduring work ethic, and their many contributions to society, including serving on our school boards and working in our educational communities. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is intended to broaden and increase the awareness of many Hispanic contributions to American culture, to show how diversified the Hispanic community is, and to promote a greater interest in young people as to the Hispanic history and culture. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is a tangible reinforcement of Toledo Public Schools, TPS board's belief that diversity creates resilient, open, and innovative global citizens. More importantly, it is an opportunity for our schools and community to celebrate the richness of the many nationalities, cultures, languages, religions, and traditions within this diverse ethnic group, and individuals such as Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, Ramon Riem, Acancio, American civil rights and labor leaders of Hispanic heritage. And whereas on September 6, 2022, the city of Toledo and Lucas County earned certified welcoming status by Welcoming America. And whereas certified welcoming is a formal designation for cities and counties that have created policies and programs reflecting their values and commitment to immigrant inclusion. And whereas TPS has established policies and affirmed its commitment to immigrant inclusion and recognizes the schools should be safe and inviting for all students and their families. And whereas TPS will not inquire about a student's or a family member's immigration status and shall refuse to the fullest extent possible under the law to share information with immigration agents. And whereas on November 28, 2017, TPS adopted a resolution designating campuses as safe zones and to create resource centers for students and families threatened by immigration enforcement. And whereas the resolution noted that the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, ICE, has a long-standing policy that it will not enter any sensitive location, which includes schools, to conduct arrests, interviews, searches, or surveillance without prior approval from specific federal law enforcement officials unless exigent circumstances exist and such policy remains in effect. And whereas TPS believes that no ICE official should contact any immigration enforcement actions, should conduct any immigration enforcement actions at or around its schools consistent with ICE's stated policy. And whereas TPS believe these policies will help create a safe and welcoming learning environment for its students and families. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Toledo City School District that Section 1, the board is committed to remaining a welcoming district for all students and their families. Section 2, the board reaffirms its November 28, 2017 resolution to designate campuses as safe zones and to create resource centers for students and families threatened by immigration enforcement. Section 3, the board does hereby honor and recognize September 15th through October 15th, 2018 as National Heritage Month. Section 4, this resolution shall be enforced in effect from immediately after its adoption and shall supersede any prior resolution or act of this board, which may be inconsistent with the provisions of this resolution. And Section 5, it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the passage of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Wow, that was a long one. I just want to thank my fellow board members, administration, Toledo Public Schools for recognizing the contributions of Hispanic community for everything that we do and we represent. And on a personal note, I'd like to mention that here in Toledo Public Schools, we have a rich history. My own uncle and my aunt were teachers at Waite, so we have a history of educators. And my cousin, my uncle, Dave Alvarado, was at Waite. My aunt, Brenda Alvarado, was at Waite. And my cousin, Ricardo Cervantes, was principal at Waite. And he also was in other positions. So it's just no surprise that I had an interest in the board. And I just want you to know that I've been here on the board for quite a long time, which demonstrates my commitment to education. And I say that because in the Latino community, education is always valued as something that's very important. And I want to continue that, and I want to make sure that we try to educate the entire community about everything that's related to growing and becoming a better participant in our community. So I just wanted to thank everybody.
Very quickly, I certainly will be supporting this resolution. I think it's our responsibility as elected officials to embrace and welcome all students and all heritage and all backgrounds. So I have to tell you, I am excited that my granddaughter, and I'm always proud to say, she's a first grader at Escuela Smart Academy, and she's going to know more Spanish than I am. Unfortunately, she'll have to teach me. So I fully support this resolution, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam President. I will also be supporting this resolution. I was invited, like others, to Escuela for celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and just to see families in a safe, welcoming, uplifting environment. This is what TPS do. This is what we should do and continue to do. And so, although these are words, we are doing the action, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. So I'd like to thank our cabinet and our staff. The principal at Escuela, Ms. Allen, is amazing, and her staff is amazing, and they can cook really well. And just always inviting us as community. So she always say, I just want more people to know about us and learn about us. So, definitely take her up on that. You would leave full and happy.
Thank you. I was disappointed that our parents that were scheduled to be here had to cancel at the last minute because they were both parents from Escuela Smart Academy. So we were going to be it was going to be kind of exciting to have this resolution at the same time we were hearing from them about our very special bilingual school. I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Durant and particularly Mr. Galt's staff in their assistance in helping Toledo Lucas County renew their designation as a welcoming community. So welcome TLC is no small thing. It's really a big deal, and the community has to be on the same page. And there's a very large part of that application that the school district has to contribute to and cross a lot of T's and dot a lot of I's. So talking about the difference between just talking the talk and actually being able to prove that we walk the walk in our district is a big deal. And so the amount of time that the staff from the curriculum division spent on making sure that Toledo Lucas County was able to maintain that designation was no small feat. And I really appreciate the time that we spent on that to prove that we are indeed a welcoming community, and a welcoming community cannot exist without a welcoming school district. So I'm very proud to be supporting this resolution.
Madam President, excuse me, I had to sneeze, so it wouldn't come out. That's why I had to start first.
You're all good.
Yeah, so I also support this resolution. I want to just thank you to the district as well for providing that welcoming community. As a pastor in that community, also on the south side, we hear great things about what the district is doing and how they really are helping the students and those in those communities really feel welcome. So we definitely support this resolution. Thank you.
There's no further.
Madam President, I just want to add to my comments. I just want to make sure that even though I was the board member who read the resolution, it is clearly a resolution of the school district, the entire board. One of the things that really makes me the happiest, to be honest with you, is that the entire board, the entire district is welcoming to all of our students and recognizes diversity. And, I just happen to be the Hispanic board member. But in the discussions that we all have on a regular basis, They're discussions by the board that are all inclusive. And that really makes me feel good. It isn't a discussion about who our students are, who our families are. And not just in the district, but in the community. And that's the kind of board members I serve with, and that makes me very proud.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. If there's no further discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Thank you. We have another resolution for the board tonight, item 5.02. This is a resolution to uphold school safety as a priority for students, staff members, parents, and community. Whereas the number one priority for school districts across the country is the safety and security of their students and staff members. Whereas districts are examining and modifying safety and security protocols so that they are better prepared to respond more effectively to an emergency or crisis situation, Toledo Public Schools is no different. And whereas providing a safe and secure school environment that ensures both the physical and emotional well-being of our students and staff members creates the conditions necessary to foster academic success and personal growth. And whereas students cannot learn effectively unless they feel safe and have a sense of belonging when at school. And whereas safe schools provide an environment where teaching and learning are not distracted, disruptions are minimized, violence, bullying, and fear are not present. Students do not experience discrimination, expectations for behavior are clearly communicated, standards of behavior are maintained, and consequences for infractions are consistently and fairly applied. And whereas creating a safe school environment requires a comprehensive, coordinated effort, including building district and community strategies where all institutions, organizations, and individuals accept responsibility for their critical roles and collaborate to establish a positive environment for teaching and learning. And whereas promoting and supporting behavioral health for students through social emotional learning and other effective behavioral health education and intervention strategies is an important approach to promote school and community safety. And whereas the board and administration have taken action to implement safety measures in Toledo TPS schools and will continue to make the safety of students and staff a top priority. This includes the creation and implementation of a crisis management plan, upgraded security systems, parent accountability, meetings and coordination with first responders and law enforcement, communications with families regarding expectations of students, training of staff and students, and the presence of school resource officers and campus protection officers where appropriate. And whereas the board and administration have adopted several school safety related policies, including but not limited to emergency management and safety plans, student expectation for behavior, student conduct, student discipline code, hazing and bullying, weapons in schools, student safety, and student discipline codes. And whereas the board and administration remain committed to enforcing these policies for school safety and student discipline, these policies will ensure that all students have the opportunity to be engaged in learning and achieve academic success to their fullest. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Toledo City School District that Section 1, the Board of Education expects the district to hold regular drills and training to ensure staff and administrators appropriately respond to incidents of violence. And the Board of Education expects the district to execute its building and district emergency plans in event of incidents of violence in our schools, and all appropriate school district personnel, law enforcement, fire and medical rescue personnel, emergency management personnel, and others essential to resolving any potential crisis that might occur. And the Board of Education expects the district to enforce board policies on student conduct, safety, and discipline to protect students, staff, and the community. And the Board of Education expects the district to provide all students access to behavioral health support, and implement effective social emotional learning programming across the district. And the Board of Education will work with a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including the Toledo Federation of Teachers Local 250, Toledo Administrative Association personnel, American Federation of State Council, County and Municipal Employees, and other school personnel, parents, students, local law enforcement, and mental health professionals to implement and monitor policies and programs that foster and support a positive school climate. And this resolution shall be in full force and effective from immediately after its adoption and shall supersede any prior resolution or act of this board which may be inconsistent with the provisions of this resolution. And finally, Section 7, it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the passage of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Okay.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Sorry, discussion.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I will obviously support this. And we've had a lot of discussion about safety. We have some of the discussions ongoing in our different committees, and some of it is here at the board level. Some of it is within the district with Dr. Durant and his staff. But we are ever vigilant about the security and safety of our students and our parents and our staff. I want to make that very clear.
Okay, so especially with the most recent situations that we've had in our district, I think it's really important for our staff and our families and our community to know that we do have your back. We are in agreement that we need to maintain our schools in a safe environment, keep them safe for all of everyone that walks in the door. I never want to be on the receiving end of text messages from staff or parents or students even that, they're scared and they don't know what's going on. So I think in our efforts here to pass a resolution regarding safety, it's really just letting the staff and our families know that we are concerned about safety and security in our buildings. It will always be a priority. I think all of us look at students and our staff as family members, and we want to protect them just like we would our very own family members. And so really my support of this is to reinforce that message. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with everything our fellow board members have said up until this point. First line of the resolution, which I support, also says that the number one priority of our school district across the country and even in our district is the safety and security of all the students and staff. And I think that that's something that we really have to hold ourselves accountable to, regardless of whatever happens. We can't control what happens, but we can do whatever we can to prevent certain measures and things of such. As Mrs. Garwood stated, with recent events that have taken place, even though it was a hoax, it was actually a reality. The anxiety was a reality. The fear was a reality. And so, I too want to say that we support our staff, our family, our parents, our community. And this resolution speaks that we are going to be accountable to make sure that we do our part to keep our schools safe and secure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I as well will be supporting this resolution. Echoing what my fellow board members have said, we know this is a challenging time. We know that this is unfortunately our reality, and we are going to do everything to make sure everyone gets home. with the incident, I do want to give kudos to the staff, and this speaks to the resolution about policies and procedures and making sure we know what to do when things happen. Even like Board Member Parker said, it was a hoax. It was still real in that moment, and the staff at the school did what they had to do, and they made sure everybody was safe as could be. And I like that this resolution talks to the mental health component. Seeing a lot of families and speaking to a lot of families that day, that is a big thing. And when we're talking about welcoming, we're not just talking about based on race, gender identity, sexual orientation. We're talking welcoming to make sure everyone feels safe and included and happy to be here. And so I am very pleased about this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I am also supporting this resolution, as you can imagine. I do want to add a caveat that we can't police or drill our way out of these situations, and that the resolution also mentions mental health and social emotional learning multiple times. And that expectation that social emotional learning is embedded from pre-K to 12 in what we do every single day is what's going to shift the climate and the tendency towards interpersonal conflict, more towards empathy and belonging and all the things we can do that is going, I think, is going to make a difference not only in the physical safety of our schools, but in the social emotional well-being of our schools. With that said, I think the community is going to have our back on the topic of social emotional learning, because like so many other topics that the Assault on Public Education is using, they're using a lot of rhetoric and divisive language around that topic. And I would invite you to just continue to trust us when we say that there are things we can do in school to help students feel a sense of belonging and to learn empathy for one another, to enhance their ability to have productive relationships with the adults that are teaching them. And I could go on and on. So yes, the safety of our schools is a priority, and it is going to take more than policing and drills to make that happen. If there's no further discussion, we can take the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Thank you. We are to the first round of comments by the board. We've been commenting up and down this Diaz for the last hour almost. So I would entertain your comments on any other topics that we haven't already covered so far. Mr. Vasquez.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to recover.
That's okay.
So I'll go over them again, some of them. I just think it's significant to note that we're talking about Toledo Public Schools as a community. And we do both these resolutions. We talk about the differences in the diversity of our TPS community. And we also talk about safety and taking care of our TPS community. And I think that's very, very significant. And I think that it's great that we're taking the time that we need to take for these kinds of issues, because they are safety issues in all regards. The other thing is that, you know, the resolutions that we gave were kind of long. It's hard to talk about important things in a short, quick way. Things do deserve time because they're important issues. In addition, I want to talk a little bit about the presentation that Marshall School made. It was a great presentation. The project that we're working on has the involvement of the Toledo Zoo as well. We, I should say, the zoo planted prairies for the native plants at Marshall, so that this could all be initiated. And Mrs. Hernandez, Catherine Hernandez, kind of kicked it off. by making sure that it was a project that was an important project. And so they're working with the Toledo Zoo Education Department to make that a project-based learning. They also the Toledo Zoo, Toledo Public Schools, also just did a project at Chase. It just initiated it, just kicked it off. There was some money from a foundation that helped pay for it, but at the kickoff was Dr. Durant, who released, there had to be hundreds of butterflies, so he was there showing his support. The CEO of the Toledo Zoo was there, Mr. Jeff Saylor, showing his support. So it was cooperative collaboration between the Toledo Zoo and Toledo Public Schools. Those are great things to see that are going on in our community. The second thing I want to talk about is the SMART programming students. And that was such a great presentation. That was a fantastic presentation. The thing that I think is significant is, if I'm sure everybody would agree, that how well spoken this young man next to me has been. And every presentation that the SMART students make, whether it be publicly or in a committee publicly, is well thought out and very helpful presentation. And so I also agree about the comments regarding the DeVilbiss campus. So it would be nice if we got a little direction. It's a beautiful layout. It's a beautiful campus. You know, it's been growing, kind of incrementally. And we've got a few different programs there. So we need to start doing some good things about, and I agree with you, about directing people and helping direct people where to go and how to get there, in addition to traffic, like what building is what. And I took a tour of the pre-med before it opened up, and all the renovations we did over there. So there's some really good things going on. We talked about the SMART students a lot in how can they participate at the board level. We had a long discussion in our FACE committee about this. We're going to continue to discuss it. But they're always open to come to committee meetings. The only problem is that we usually hold that during school time, our committee meetings, but we're rotating. We're going to different schools each month. We're doing that again. We did it before, and we're doing that again. So we are going to get the input from the SMART students in the FACE committee. So a lot of good things going on. People just look at what our staff is involved in, look what our students are involved in. It's just fantastic. The last thing I would say is I want to reach out and suggest that the SMART students deal with the engineering and traffic division at the City of Toledo. I think it would be a great learning project. I have the pleasure of working with the City of Toledo, different departments, and engineering and traffic is one of the biggest ones that I've worked with. It's been a real learning experience on a lot of different levels. One of them is just knowing, the traffic and some of the details and all that kind of thing, but it's also in how to get things done. And it's a real art to try to get things done through governmental agencies and through the bureaucracy. And I think it would be a great thing for our students to be involved in. So I would suggest that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, a few things. I will try and be quick. First, I also want to give a shout out to Mrs. Eli with Marshal STEMM and her first graders. That was probably one of the best board meetings to be able to go outside and watch butterfly release, right? And the students are so engaged and excited, and it reminds all of us why we do what we do, all right? Even through all of the negative things from the state. Just throwing that out there. I would also like to thank Mr. Rodriguez with Toledo Technology Academy of Engineering and SMARTS. First of all, the problem-solving skills that you're bringing and providing solutions is exactly, I think, when we envisioned talking even about SMARTS and what might evolve from it. That's exactly what we were kind of dreaming about. So I'm so excited to see it in person, live, ready to go. I will say that the whole point of SMARTS to me was to empower your student voice. So I look forward to all of the great things that you are going to bring to the table. And I really see you as a leader for the future of our community. So thank you for being here today. And thank you for bringing those problem-solving skills and solutions. And certainly, I'm sure Mr. Gant would love to have maybe an intern in his business department area, right? We'll talk about that in finance. And then I will also like to mention not to bring up the state again, but the State Board of Education and the resolution that the gentleman from Equality Toledo spoke of. I don't know how many more hateful resolutions that they need to bring out that we are going to advocate against. I don't understand resolutions that bring any ill will towards any child in any way, shape, or form, period. And to have someone from be in a position of power on that State Board of Ed, State Board of Education, for goodness sakes, that brings a resolution that is really anti-child. It's just horrific to me. And I believe that we can do so much better in the state of Ohio. We need to do better. So hopefully folks in the community will look at who's running for the State Board of Ed positions and vote accordingly. And then just as and I'm going to end on a positive note, I am super excited. I was asked to be the Grand Marshal for the Woodward Homecoming Parade. So I'm going to bring my husband, who's a Woodward alum, and we're going to ride in the parade and toss out candy. Super excited about that. So thank you. That's all I have.
Madam President, this will be very short. Again, it's going to sound like a needle on a broken record. But thank you again to Ms. Eli and her class for such an awesome presentation. Zion and Zoe and Rosalind and Elijah was just sharp to the T. And I'm going to lose weight so I can fit his stuff now. So it was just awesome. And Mr. Rodriguez, again, as Ms. Vasquez and Ms. Rodriguez said, thank you so much for such an awesome presentation. And just all that you have presented to us is that fire that we need to keep going. And I agree with you as far as the parking lot and directions and things of such. I think I missed a birthday waiting in line, trying to get out of that line many a time. So thank you for that. On a real quick note, I was honored to go to Glenwood Elementary School today and actually see there was a door with my picture and my bio on it. And so it was really exciting to go and see Mrs. Brown's Head Start class, who made that as they were doing their fall decorations of their doors. And so really honored to be a part of that and connected to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Rodriguez, I cannot wait to vote for you. I don't know what it is, but I know it's coming because you are a leader today. I don't have to think about the future. You are a leader today. And thank you for coming and taking up space. That's how it's supposed to be done. I appreciate you for doing that. I know it's not easy, especially it's a Tuesday night. You probably got some homework to do. But I appreciate you coming and taking up space. And this is what we want for you all. You don't have to ask permission. You take up space. And I hope you remember that. So I can't wait to vote for you. Let's see, what else? Okay. Oh my God, I got to hold a butterfly. Is a Monarch bird? I didn't scream, so that was amazing. I'm still kind of like giddy over that. They were so brave. They were just like putting on their fingers like it was nothing. Oh my God, that was so amazing. I will never forget that. I took a picture and everything. I want to also thank Mr. Wood from Equality Toledo coming to bring up an important topic, one that I am grateful that I have colleagues that supported me in my efforts to make sure we fight bigotry in all forms, and any type of resolution, like Ms. Barwick said, is anti-child. Our job, our oath, is to pretty much stand up and support our staff and students and their families, not tear them down. And unfortunately, some people in leadership don't get that message, but it's okay because we're going to keep reminding them every chance we get. And so I just want to thank my colleagues and Dr. Durant and the cabinet for making sure I get into good trouble. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also just like to say to Mr. Rodriguez, thanks for staying. You're still here. That's also a big deal. And, you know, between the presentations and having you here today, it's just, that is our why. You are literally why we do this. I would like to give my board members just a very brief update. I am the liaison to the Vouchers Hurt Ohio Steering Committee, and we had our second meeting since we joined that lawsuit today. There will be multiple opportunities at the Capitol Conference that I wanted you to kind of watch out for, because that's coming up. They have a booth. They always have a booth. They're also doing a presentation, so anyone from districts who have already joined are encouraged to be in the room. And they're also going to hold a steering committee meeting there in person, so we'll be getting more updates. There's a letter that they have put together for each district who has already joined the suit to send to other districts who have not, talking about why we did it. And so I will be signing that letter on behalf of our district since we have joined the suit, and I'll share it with you the minute I get it in my hands before it goes out. There's also a date coming up where they're going to have a meet and greet or a presentation at Bowling Green schools, highlighting where the VHO folks are going to come to try and get other people from the community to come and hear more about the lawsuit. And that's being sponsored by their teachers union there. So I will make sure you have that date. And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. The other things I want to mention is, if you haven't already subscribed to a blog called 10th Period, this is Stephen Dyer's blog. You need to subscribe. It's called 10th Period. And he just digs into data in a way that is very important for us to look at. When we talk about our oath of office, it is to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of Ohio. And we believe that vouchers are unconstitutional according to Ohio's Constitution. That this is not an anti-private school movement. This is about believing that vouchers are unconstitutional. One of the things that came out in his blog today, where he dug into the data, is basically that the longer students are using vouchers, the wider the gap becomes in their achievement. So like we've always said, school choice is an important thing, but we believe that public schools are the best choice. And the data is becoming more and more clear that we actually, when you control for social economic status, and when you control for disadvantage, we are actually better equipped to deal with achievement lags than in a private school that is taking a voucher. So I just want to give that quick update, and again, thank this board for being supportive of those efforts, and we will continue moving forward on being part of that lawsuit. If there are no other board comments, I think we are ready for the consent agenda, right? Okay. This is section 7, the consent agenda. As you know, the consent agenda items can all be found on board docs, which you can get through our website. We have item 7.01 through 7.113. Board members may request to pull an item from the consent agenda if necessary and move it to a discussion section. 701 to 705 are the Human Resources, Staff Development, and Training Committee items. That is chaired by me and co-chaired by Mr. Randall Parker. Item 7.06 through 710 are the Finance and Business Operations Committee, chaired by Mr. Vasquez and co-chaired by Mrs. Chris Barwig. Item 7.11 is the Technology Improvement and Process Committee. There are no action items this month from that committee. I chair that, and it is co-chaired by Mr. Bob Vasquez. Items 7.12 and 7.13 come from the Board Curriculum Instruction and Academic Excellence Committee. That is co-chaired and chaired by myself and Mrs. Barwig. 7.14 and 7.107 come from the Policy Committee, chaired and co-chaired by Ms. Sheena Barnes and Mr. Bob Vasquez. 7.108 and 7.109 are from the Athletics Student Activities Committee, chaired and co-chaired by Mrs. Barwig and Mr. Parker. Items 7.110 and 7.111 come from Community and Family Engagement Committee, chaired and co-chaired by Mr. Vasquez and Ms. Barnes. Items 7.112 and 7.113 are approval of previous board meeting minutes. I would like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Then moved and seconded. Do I have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Okay, section 8 of the agenda consists of reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings and are here for information and reference. No action is required. We can move to section 9, which is walk-ins. Are there any walk-ins? No walk-ins. Section 10 is the early childhood education action items. That committee is chaired and co-chaired by Ms. Barnes and Mr. Parker. Ms. Barnes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Amy Allen.
So we have 6 items this month that we're asking for approval. Unfortunately, none of them can be bundled. 10.01 is our annual report of our early childhood program from the 21-22 school year. 10.02 are the annual program information reports as required by the Office of Head Start. 10.03 is a budget revision request for the remaining balance of our early childhood American Rescue Plan dollars. 10.04 is a transportation procedure that we made some slight changes to. 10.05 are additional Head Start procedures that were reviewed and altered slightly. And 10.06 is our annual self-assessment as required by the Office of Head Start.
Thank you, Dr. Amy. I would like to make a motion to approve 10.02 annual PIR documents.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. No discussion, call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes. Thank you. I would like to make a motion for 10.03 budget revision ARP.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. No discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to move for 10.04 transportation procedures.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Let's go back and make a motion for, where's that at? Oh, it's over here. Okay. 10.01 annual report early childhood.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for catching that. So we're now at 10.05, or we already made a motion. We already made a motion. We are on to 10.06. 10.05. Head Start procedure. I have to make a motion to move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Thank you. And for our final one is 10.06, self-assessment, please. I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I would like to make a comment on this item. It is, after serving several years on the Head Start Committee, I know how much work goes into this self-assessment. It's a really, really big deal, and it's a really, really deep dive into all things. And it's sometimes hard to take that close of a look at things, but it is very valuable. So if you're interested in seeing that self-assessment, it is on board docs and is very much worth looking at for all the effort that was put into it. So there's no other comments. We can call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that is a good thing. The section 11 of the agenda consists of early childhood education reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings and provided for your information reference. No action is required, but it is required that they're shared with board members. So take a look at those when you have a chance. We can proceed to section 12. Are there any ECE walk-ins?
No.
Okay, thank you. Taking a breath. Section 13, executive session. I would like a motion to enter an executive session for the following. Details relative to the security arrangements and emergency response protocols for a public body or public office if disclosure of the matters discussed could reasonably be expected to jeopardize the security of the public body or public office.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, please call. Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion.
Before we go in executive session, I would love to get a picture of Mr. Rodriguez if he would like a picture. That's okay. Okay, now we can.
So while we're transitioning, we'll get a picture. If we can call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion to reconvene.
So moved.
Executive
Second.
session. Moved and seconded. Hearing no discussion, please call the roll.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken,
Yes,
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwick.
Yes.
thank you. Superintendent comments.
It's real quick. Again, appreciation. Got a lot of great feedback from the luncheon last Tuesday, which had produced a lot of other media hits. So we'll be on 1370, I think every Tuesday with Fred Lefevre. So different schools will be going on, different instructors. Today I launched it off, and then we'll continue that throughout the month of October, which is Career Tech Month. And don't forget to support Robin Haig, who supports the historian literature. Next event is at Start High School, October 6th at 7 p.m. Does a phenomenal job employing great speakers to speak about the pride of Toledo. And then also on Saturday, we have a UT parade, which we have several schools who are engaging in that at the University of Toledo. So again, thank you. Keep it proud.
Council
good.
Treasurer. Treasurer, you're done? Okay, board members.
I have nothing else.
Just that I wanted to comment on the conference that we attended, some of us attended, the CASBA conference. And I think it was very informational. I think it was a good first step for that organization. And I'm glad that OSBA has led the way in creation of that group. So I look forward to seeing what we have down the road. And October 6th seems to be a happening night. So there's so many things going on. I hope that we are recording what Robin Haig is doing, because I'm very interested in that. Thank you.
No comments. Thank you.